Hello, and welcome to another edition of Exclusive Interview, coming to you from the studios of 84 TV Radio, Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Stanley Bentu. Now, if you're a Nigerian and have lived in this country over the period of the past 10 years, you would be forgiven to think that insecurity is a problem that's peculiar to this area. But think about it. Even the greatest economies in the world have faced their own threats. If you think back to the Nazis in Germany, or the IRA in the United Kingdom, or even the white supremacists in the United States, there are threats from within and without. Well, in the West African sub-region, we've had conflicts that have even spilt over from one country to the next and have prevented the sub-region from becoming the economic powerhouse that it can be. But what is West Africa doing to keep itself safe and prosperous? That's what we'd like to find out, but before that, let's take a look at this report.
The Economic Community of West African States, also known as Ecowas, is a regional political and economic union of 15 countries located in West Africa. Collectively, these countries comprise an estimated population of over 349 million. The union was established on 28 May 1975 with the signing of the Treaty of Lagos, with its stated mission to promote economic integration across the region. Considered one of the pillar regional bloc of the continent-wide African Economic Community, AEC, the stated goal of ECOWAS is to achieve collective self-sufficiency for its member states by creating a single large trade bloc by building a full economic and trading union. The ECOWAS also serves as a peacemaking force in the region, with member states occasionally sending joint military forces to intervene on the bloc member countries at times of political instability and unrest. In recent years, this included intervention in Ivory Coast in 2003, Liberia in 2003, Guinea-Bissau in 2012, Mali in 2013, and the Gambia in 2017. One of the principal tools of the ECOWAS Conflict Prevention Framework, ECPF, which was adopted in 2008 by the ECOWAS Mediation and Security Council in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. Its all-over aim are to strengthen human security architecture in West Africa and to integrate conflict prevention and peace-building activities into its initiatives. On this edition, Exclusive Interview speaks to Aderemi Ajibewa, the Director of Political Affairs at ECOWAS. He holds a PhD in Politics and International Relations from the University of Lancaster. Aderemi is a regional security, conflict resolution, diplomatic relations, and post-conflict recovery specialist with 2-decade experience in intergovernmental and international non-governmental organizations. He has been part of the ECOWAS team since 2005.
Welcome back to Exclusive Interview. Well, joining me in the studio right now is the Director of Political Affairs of the Economic Community of West African States. His name is Dr. Remi Ajibewa. Dr. Ajibewa, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
Right, we have to be compliant, of course. Yeah. So, no, go ahead. We would really love to see your face. What is the ECPF, and can you tell us a bit about its history?
Yeah, the ECPF is the ECOWAS Conflict Prevention Framework, which seems to be one of the mechanisms in place by ECOWAS for its cooperation with member states, with regional economic corporations, as well as civil society. But it emanates from an earlier protocol on democracy and good governance of 2001, and the mechanism on the prevention of conflict that came in 1999. So under the ECPF, which we call which is ECOWAS Conflict Prevention Framework, we have 15 modules, and these modules go through the issue of democracy, human rights, rule of law, also relations with member states, as well as what we call the 15 component, the resource mobilization, which is like monitoring and evaluation as well, comes under the 15, and it's been one of the instruments which have been used by ECOWAS to have cooperation with member states and the other international organizations.
Well, now the ECPF has been operational for 11 years now.
Yes.
That's right. How has it really helped, especially in places like Senegal, Burkina Faso, and Mali? Maybe just give us a short summary of how it has helped in those instances. Let's start with Senegal.
Senegal, you will recall that the election was held in Senegal, and there were problems there. Problems ranging from what they call panarage. Panarage is a French word meaning that any of the contestants or any of the politicians interested in vying for a presidential election must have a certain percentage of the parliamentarians endorsing that this is an eligible candidate. And you tend to see that where the opposition does not have much number of parliaments, it's difficult to get to that required number of parliamentarians. So more often than not, it is the government that have the exclusive reserve of those parliamentarians. So in such cases, what Ecowas does through our Ecowas conflict prevention framework is to send either what we call the technical team, consisting of the Ecowas president of the commission, then the commissioner, director, as well as members of the two members of the member states from the we call them National Electoral Commission to look at it. If that fails, then it might also go to what we call the high-level mission, which is also under the ECPF. The high-level mission consists of leaders of ECOWAS, leaders of AU, as well as the leaders of UN. But usually we work with UNOWAS, United Nations Office for West Africa and Sahel, Dr. Chambers. So under those are instances, just meeting all the stakeholders to ensure that's what we call inclusiveness or inclusivity, to make sure that there's no discrimination, not only discrimination, that certain elements in the countries are not denied their civic rights. So it's one. And then in case of Mali, Mali is well known. We have the chairperson of Mahamadou Issoufou, that is the president of Niger, who was the last chairman of the authority, working with his peer, His Excellency Ebele Jonathan Goodluck, was appointed the special envoy on Mali. If you recall, there was a problem in Mali whereby 31 of the parliamentarians, because of what I could say, it's not clear, the elections was a bit mad by rigging. So, but those guys came in, but the Constitutional Court revoked their election. That is illegal. So against that background, there seems to be a sort of problem in the country, and from there, it metamorphosized into what we had on August 18, when there was a coup in the country. So it was after that coup that the head of state met to ensure that they appointed somebody of a caliber or status like the former president of Nigeria, who has been going there with former head of state, and later on he has gone up to 10 times with us, the technical team, just to make sure that we accompany the country. And you remember that led to the formation of a national government, whereby we have Colonel India, retired Colonel, who is now the president, and then the other members of the cabinet, and we are following through with them.
So we are able to diffuse the situation without it degenerating into conflict.
Yes.
One of the ones that was most fascinating is the story of what happened in the Gambia. Yeah. Can you give us a breakdown of that particular situation and how the ECPF came into play?
The case of Gambia, under the ECPF, I told you we have 15 components. And one of the components there is preventive diplomacy and mediation. So we invoke that clause of number 5, the item module 5. First, we look at the situation in Gambia. That
your former president Yahya Jammeh, who had lost the election, had decided he wasn't going to go anywhere.
Yes, we realized that even before that, ECOWAS has already invoked We didn't go for the election. We didn't send observer because we said the ground, there was no playing level ground. 2, we also realized that it's best to come together with the AU, UN, and make a sort of joint statement, which we made at that time. But we realized by 19th of January 2017, the guy still insisted that he would not be going. It was against that background that Nigeria, the regional leader, invoked what we call carrot and stick diplomacy. At the same time, they sent a sort of recognition, the machine, the aircraft, to go and roam around the country to ensure. And at the same time, we were doing our own mediation effort. So by 28th of January, Yahya Jammeh knew that there's nowhere to go because the international community has already put a searchlight on him that you are not the elected person. So against that background, he asked for asylum in Equatorial Guinea, and that was facilitated by the Ecowas head of state, especially President Conde, as well as the Nigeria head of state. So that was how he went to Equatorial Guinea. But it was not an easy game because we, ECOWAS staff, we stayed for...
You were on ground. And you in particular, you were there in the Gambia the night that it all happened.
Yes.
Tell us what it felt like to be there, to witness everything that was going on. And did you have any fears as to how Yahya Jammeh was going to react?
No fear. No fear in the sense that we've already realized that he has seen that all hope have lost, that there's no way he can redeem his image again. 2, that the best alternative is to leave the country. The painful aspect of it seems to be that when ECOWAS have already done all these final arrangements, very painful that all these exercises were written down in sort of a book, but because of the language, we couldn't get it in French on time and Portuguese, so it wasn't published. But outsiders, the European countries, took the glory, selling it out to the international community, whereas the people, the proactive, those that took the initiative, they couldn't. They couldn't put it in a visible way for the international community to appreciate the mediation and the preventive effort done by ECOWAS.
But just to be clear, this was a West African effort,
yes,
driven by West African states, funded by West African states, and they were able to successfully restore proper democracy in the Gambia.
And we should also give credit to the chairperson of ECOWAS, Her Excellency, Madam Ellen Sirleaf Johnson. Also, kudos needs to be given to our Minister of Foreign Affairs as well as the head of state of Nigeria, President Buhari, as well as Geoffrey Oyema. I witnessed it. I was in the room. I could see the choice of word, the diplomatic necessity put into it, because it was a delicate situation. You need to know the choice of word to put down so that it won't be as if you are using a sort of force to evict him out. So it involved a sort of
carrot and stick
diplomacy.
Well, we would like to hear more about this carrot and stick diplomacy, and also about some of the historic as well as immediate causes of conflict in the West African state. But we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll find out more. Don't go away. There's a wind of change blowing over Nigeria, and it's coming from the Tertiary Education Trust Fund. If you want to find out how TED Fund is bringing the Nigerian government, industry, and the academia together to drive a new knowledge economy, tune in to this station every Wednesday at 8 p.m. for TED Fund, The Paradigm Shift. It's informative, it's innovative, and it's exciting. TED Fund, The Paradigm Shift. Proudly produced by 84 TV Radio. Welcome back to Exclusive Interview. I'm still in the studio with Dr. Remi Ajibera, who's the Director of Political Affairs ECOWAS. And before we went to break, we were talking about the Gambia, and you mentioned the carrot and stick approach. Explain that to me. What do you mean by carrot and stick diplomacy?
Yeah. The carrot is the mediation effort given to done by the ECOWAS head of state, precisely Mahama of Ghana, then Madam Serif, then Nigeria represented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I think those are the three. And apparently they were negotiating to give an option of exit option to Yahya Jammeh. But it seems the exit option seems not to be making way, as if it's still adamant to stay. Then the stick came in by Nigeria using its military power to let the president, Yahya Jammeh, knows that we are in for you. That if you are not leaving, then it might lead to what we call evacuation, that you'll be evacuated in your place there. So those of us that were even in the State House equivalent, we could hear the noise of the helicopters.
And
so we knew it was time. And
Nigeria also sent sea vessels. I think.
Yes, they also placed vessels on the
coastline of the Gambia,
which as intelligence might have given to Yahya Jammeh that Nigeria is out, but his own internal guys who have also worked with ECOWAS thought ECOWAS would not go on that stick diplomacy. So at the same time, first time, we try to use carrot and stick diplomacy, making sure that we negotiate with you, but if you are trying to be too tactful or too stubborn, then we try to give you the other one, which clause a word says that at times diplomacy is too dangerous to be left with diplomats alone, and wars are too dangerous to be left with military men. And as such, in the modern dictum now, is to use mixture of both, so that at least each of the leaders who are belligerent will know that it's time for action.
Kudos to the Senegalese troops too, who were there. It's quite an effort done by West Africa, and it ended well. So what are some of the historic and emerging challenges that are being faced in the West African sub-region, and are they similar from state to state?
Apparently they are the ones that are regional, and then they are the ones that are states. It differs from state. For example, the issue of terrorism. Terrorism is an emerging threat, and that seems to have cut across quite a lot of ECOWAS member states, namely Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, Nigeria, and then the neighboring states of Cameroon, Chad. It also infiltrates even to Benin. So when you look at it, that seems to be one of the reasons why the head of state met, that there should be an action plan. The second one is the maritime piracy on the maritime line. There is a maritime zone from Abidjan then to Cameroon. There's a lot of so what we have now is zones as well. We have to pirate there and to make sure that the pirates are being monitored, and then to have what we call Interpol as well as cross-border surveillance. So the other one is also the issue of kidnapping.
Absolutely, it's a major problem for Nigeria at the moment.
Then there is the issue of child trafficking. Then there is also the issue of climate change. There is also the issue of demography, the demographic problem as well.
It's interesting how the climate change challenge is being interpreted in or causing ethnic tensions. And according to you, this is happening across several West African states.
There's the farmers' herdsmen. Rearing is very ugly. It's very, very pathetic of what we had of it. Then finally, you could see that there's this even the problem of COVID-19 now. Those are, I've given like 6 or 7 now. Those are the emerging threats now that have been revolving around, which it seems different from the normal threats or that we've been used to.
So how is ECOWAS adapting to these new challenges and repositioning itself to remain relevant and effective?
ECOWAS has been repositioning itself given the fact that the head of states are committed, dedicated, and they are looking at the instruments in place to guide. One of the ways in which the ECOWAS head of states have been adapting or managing the challenges is through what we call the Summit of Head of States. So at times on issue of terrorism, they can, if where it affects quite a lot, they call for extraordinary summit of head of states, whereby they look at it. There are specific ones on terrorism. There's been specific one on elections. There's been specific ones on the change of the unconstitutional means, like the case of Mali. So they've been, and they've profiled solutions. For example, on the issue of COVID-19, which is very rampant among the member states, there has been a meeting just of 2 weeks ago, whereby the head of state gave a sort of harmonization in the sense that any member state should not be charging more than $50 per COVID test, which is a very laudable effort, because in some countries, I won't mention, they've been taking $150 for your going in, coming out, which is very expensive. Then that one is there. Then there's also the terrorism as well. They've also set up what they call the fund. They committed donating $3 million. $3 million. And each of the member states have promised, like Nigeria promised as well. Later on, it increased to $1 billion now. So some member states have already paid their pledge, and there's what we call the action plan on terrorism, combating terrorism 2020 to 2024 that is in place now, and it gives a sort of programs, activities to be implemented among member states, while some are regional, while some are within the member states. Also, in the issue of maritime security, they've also set up zonal offices whereby the Interpol, as well as staff from the ECOWAS Commission, they work together with member states to make sure that if there's piracy in Senegal, by the time they get towards Benin, there will have been information sharing as well as peer learning between them, that the information will have cut across. And they did not stop there. They also moved to what they call ECAS. ECAS region is the Central African Republic, consisting of Cameroon, Gabon, and the other. So there's what we call the head of state meeting at that level as well. So that if anyone runs away from any of the West African zones and going towards that area, there will have the information sharing among them. And it's not at the it's not at the head of state level. It's also at the ministerial as well as the ambassadorial level.
Wow. Well, it's fantastic to see that Africa is waking up, and that a lot of progress has been made so that Africans can provide solutions to our peculiar problems, as opposed to waiting for the Western world to do that for us. So I would like to give you a big congratulations for the work that you do, and thank you so much for your service, and it has been an honor to have had this chat with you, Doctor.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Don't go away. Exclusive interview. We'll be right back.
AD4 TV Radio, we focus on education with emphasis on research and innovation, science and technology, women and girl-child education, children, health, youth and sports, socio-political and economic reforms, security, environment, entrepreneurship, and entertainment. We'll give you information at your fingertips. Learn on the go. Follow AD4 TV Radio on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. AD4 TV Radio, reliable and credible.
We love you, AD4 TV Radio.
Well, it was such a pleasure speaking with Dr. Remi Ajibowa, And he opened my eyes to quite a number of things. First and foremost, that Africans are competent enough to recognize their problems and swift to tackle them. Secondly, we have to generate and promote solutions from within our sub-region because we know where the shoe pinches. Well, that's it on Exclusive Interview for today. Until we come your way again next time, thank you for stopping by.